Hello and welcome to Treasure in Every Verse. I'm your host, author and Bible teacher Kevin Madison. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, friends, we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we had earlier. And we're going to get right back into our study. We will study on the book of Revelation, and we're over in chapter 1. And what we're doing, folks, is going through a systematic review and overview of the book of Revelation. And in chapter 1 there's a very, very interesting part of the scripture, this revelation of Jesus Christ, that sort of lays the foundation of the why behind everything that's happening afterwards. So let's get right back into it. And we seen last time we were here and we were talking about this right here, the effects of sin's entrance into the world. And I read to you Romans 5:12 and 18, how sin came in. Obviously it came in first through Satan. So when sin came in the heavens, Satan did it, and it established him as the father of all sinners, whether it's angels or humans. Why? Why is Satan the father of all sinners? He's the father because he's the first one that did it. God is the father of all creation. Why? Because he's the first and he's the last. He created all things, making him responsible. Father in the book have a relationship to authority, supreme authority, and the first to do something, first of a kind, the one who is responsible for it. So that's why there's two kingdoms now, a kingdom of God and a kingdom of Satan, and it came because of sin, and it was done in the heavens. So now the heavens are unclean. Do you know that there is more sins committed in the heavens than there are on the earth? There are more sins today committed in the heavens than there is going on in the earth today. Why? Because the angels are eternal, or immortal, should I say, and they sin without ceasing. Every thought, every intent, everything behind anything they do is all sin in the eyes of a holy God. Why? Because they're unclean. And it's the same thing with fallen men. Men fell, earth got under a curse, came to futility, and you got constant decay, and that's what's happening. Then I gave you the biblical definition of death, which is simply separation. So the biblical definition of death is not somebody, losing life out of this body and the body going into the grave, into some eternal sleep or something. No. There's no such thing as annihilation when it comes to our beings. There's no such thing as you going into the grave and never knowing anything. And I'm going to show you that today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start off with that. I'm going to show you conversations in the book that is happening right now, right here, today, in hell. Hell being Sheol, the grave. Hades, this place of torment underneath the earth. I'll do it right quick. Right here is the place of torment. Right here is the place of torment. This is where people are. Now these two are combined today. And this is the earth, by the way. And this is happening underneath the earth. Okay? And it's called the place of torment. Now, there are conversations that's happening there. And that's what that means. You are separated from the life of God and the glory of God. Life of God is God's presence. The glory of God is God's light. Now, I'm going to read this, but let me first just quickly go to the two stories I'm going to show you of what's happening. That's conversations happening right there. Now, that conversation won't be happening in the outer darkness, the place, the final hell is called outer darkness. And in that place called outer darkness, there's a lake of fire. In that lake of fire, there are pits, individual sized pits, and each person would be in their individual sized pit. You say, well, why isn't the people in individual-sized pits today? Because no one has been judged. In order for God to deem out or to give out the proper just punishment to each individual, there must be a proper and final judgment. Let me give you an example. Somebody like Hugh Hefner, who has spread porn all over the place, ruined the lives, marriages of billions of people. His sins of starting that industry is still going on today. So this man and all that helped him, their sins, the impact of their sin is going on and on and on. So would it be just for God to give him final judgment right now? No, because the impact of his sin is still happening. So he has to wait. And what about all these kings and queens, these monarchs in the past who have impacted nations for years? The monarchs of Babylon, the monarchs of Greece, who spread their false, fake religion and gods all over the world. Nimrod, the first world dictator of Babylon, or Babel, he started all the false religion. It started with him. The impact of that one man's life is still being felt today. And he has impacted billions of people. So while he is here, and pharaohs and all the other ancient kings who were not born again, and they're in torment, it's not the final judgment. Okay, so let's go to that and we'll come back to this. And basically we're going to go to Luke and going to read the account of Lazarus and the rich man over in the book of Luke. And this is Jesus telling us about all the things that's actually happening in the chapter 16, in the place of torment right now. Look at this. All right. Now, this is a true story, friends. Jesus actually named a person. He never does that in a parable, but this is a real story. Jesus can see beyond the grave because he's God. Look at this. There was a certain rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Now, don't get the assumption that this guy had a problem because he was rich. That's not the moral of the story. But there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, full of sores, who had laid at his gate, desiring to be fed with crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Now, what God doesn't say, which you have to pick up here, the rich man was an unrepentant unbeliever. Lazarus was a repentant believer in God. You can flip the script on both of those. You can make the rich man the believer and Lazarus the unbeliever, and you'll get the same results. So that's what you have to see in the story. One was saved, not because he was poor, and one was lost, not because he was rich. It's where their faith was. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So it was that the beggar died physically and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. Now, what in the mess is Abraham's bosom? It's this right here. You had two sections. One was called Abraham's bosom, right? That's what that one was called. And the other lifted up his, let's just get rid of this. Okay. Abraham's bosom was on this side. And then this place of torment right here was on the other side. And there was a gulf in between right here. But they could see each other. They could even talk to each other. This is after they died physically, friends. What did that tell you? That tells you that you have all your senses. You know what else that tells you? They all had bodies. Look, the rich man also died, was buried. And being in torments in Hades, he lift up his what? He lift up his eyes. He opened his eyes. And when he seen, he was able to recognize somebody who had died thousands of years before he lived. What does that tell you? That tells you in the grave, you get some knowledge that you can't have here. How in the world did he recognize Abraham? Afar off. And he also noticed Lazarus. He cried out to Father Abraham. Now they're having a conversation, friends, in Hades. Do you think there were some other people there? Yes. They have a conversation. Now, look at this guy. Send Lazarus. He dipped the tip of his finger in water. Now, he must have known that Lazarus had access to water. Apparently, he's seen it. To cool my tongue. Why did he need his tongue cool? Because I'm tormented in this flame. Wait a minute. If he's on fire, in a flame, and being tormented, and his tongue was on fire, shouldn't he be consumed? No. No. He had a body because he had tongue. He was able to speak. He was able to hear Abraham's response. He was able to communicate. Everything about this man was normal, but yet the senses was even more heightened and aware. Friend, this isn't a joke. Did his body become consumed by the flame? No. And it never will. But he's going to feel this torment every single day for the rest of his existence. So will you if you don't be born again and get saved by the power of Jesus Christ. Now, that's what I want to show you. Okay. Now notice, one thing I want to point out right here. Look, Abraham says, hey, look. And besides all this, between us, between where Abraham was in paradise and where this rich man was in torment, there's something there. There's a great gulf, and it is fixed. What does that mean? It means so that you can't come over here to us and we cannot come to you. It's fixed.